Hello Year 6. Firstly, well done for all your fantastic work last week. Miss Kirby, Mrs Jeffries and I were so impressed with your resilience and how well you have adapted to learning online. This video is going to give you an overview of what we'll be learning about this week in our second session. So on Monday, we'll begin to draft our diary entry. Remember, we'll be writing as Joey and aiming to include lots of emotive language. To help us with this, we'll be using this picture. You've seen it before and were asked to write lots of different emotive language that Joey would have been feeling throughout the chapter around it. We'll begin by sharing our ideas and making sure everybody's got lots of vocabulary they can use to help them with their writing. We'll then move on to look at the different features of a diary entry. We've done this once before while we were looking at Shackleton, so we'll recap what we'd like to include within our writer's toolbox and also which features are not needed for this genre of writing. Before we write independently, we'll have a think about how we can make our sentences really descriptive and include lots of different adjectives. As we read through the model paragraphs together, you'll be asked to underline high-level vocabulary and punctuation that you'd like to include within your writing. At the end, we'll discuss what we've read and make sure everyone's got a really clear idea of what they need to include. As you can see, some words have been written in blue. These are our sentence openers. We really want to focus on ensuring we have a variety of sentence openers, not everything starting with I did this, then I did this. We want to include some fronted adverbials, some conjunctions to really keep our readers engaged. You'll then have some time to write independently, and your task for after the session will be to complete these 2 paragraphs. Once you have done that, please can you email it to the home learning address. You may wish to type it, or you may wish to do it by hand and take a picture. Either way is absolutely fine. On Tuesday, we'll continue to draft our diary entry. We'll start by sharing some of your fantastic work from the day before. The next part of the story we're looking at is when the vet examines Joey. We'll begin by drawing and annotating a picture of what the vet did and how Joey responded. As we read through the model text together once again, we'll be underlining key language and key punctuation we wish to magpie for our own writing. As you'll see, some words are highlighted in blue. These words show us how Joey's feeling throughout the paragraph, such as my legs trembling with fear and trepidation and curious of where I was headed. We're going to make sure we include lots and lots of different emotion within this paragraph. You'll also see that some writing is in pink. Everywhere, absolutely everywhere, and something was wrong, something was desperately wrong. We'll also consider the effect of repetition on the reader, and your challenge will be to include some repetition within your paragraph. Again, after the session, you'll be asked to complete this paragraph and email it in to the home learning website. On Wednesday, we'll be completing our diary entry. We'll start the lesson by sharing some of your fantastic work from the day before. We'll then have a look at some key language and match up the word with the definition. Your challenge will be to include these words within your paragraph. As on the previous days, we'll read through the model text and underline key language and punctuation you'd like to magpie. This paragraph is about Albert realising Joey's been sold and trying to convince Captain Nichols to let him join the army. Before we write independently, we'll have a look at 2 different sentence structures that we can use to make our writing more varied. You'll then have some time to start writing, and then you'll be asked to finish off your diary entry once the lesson is finished. We'd then love for you to send your completed diary entries to the school email address. On Thursday, we'll be having a history lesson and looking at who would have been able to join the army. Last week, lots of you mentioned how women were unable to join the army during World War I, which was completely correct. However, the men had to meet special criteria to be able to join as well. So we'll have a look at how the men were recruited for the war and also who was recruited. We'll then look at 4 different profiles and based on the information given, decide if those men were fit to join the army or not. In the second half of the session, we'll be looking at posters that were put up to persuade the men to join the army. And based on our observations, you'll be able to draw and design your own recruitment poster. After the lesson, please read or listen to Chapter 5 of Warhorse. On Friday, we'll be continuing with history, but instead of looking at which men were involved in the war, we'll be looking at which animals also fought alongside them. From reading War Horse, we already know that horses were involved within the fighting. However, lots of different animals were also involved, some of which might really surprise you. At the end of the lesson, you'll be given 2 choices of activities to do. You might like to research the different medals that were awarded to men and to animals throughout the war, and maybe even design and create your own. Or you may prefer to look at the different ranks and positions within the army and what their badges look like. We'd also like you to read or listen to Chapter 6 of War Horse. We're really looking forward to all of our live lessons this week and can't wait to see you all.